Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 17th of August, now it's 7:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Second update will be a little bit late in the afternoon, in which I will share additional news that will be reported by Russian media, and also today later on I will record and upload a video for our Patreon community. And as many of you know, I do extra content for Patreon on a regular basis, and once we will go back to Moscow region, I will increase my activity to make Patreon page even more developed and interesting, and I do this in attempt to generate additional interest among members of our community towards my Patreon page, because it's a major lifeline for our project. So I will be immensely grateful if you will consider to support through Patreon, and if you will subscribe. You will see link under this video in description box or in the pinned comment. That's been said, let me take a couple of more minutes, if I may, to address a few more topics that are related to our community and our project. And first of all, I want to thank all of you for your attention and support. Yesterday we did reach 16,000 level, which is great. Our community is getting stronger. We are almost on daily basis. We have new members in the community, and I welcome everyone, and hopefully we will manage to reach 20,000 level. Maybe it's too optimistic, but maybe we will manage to reach 20,000 level before end of this year. Who knows? And by the way, also I want to ask question. Probably you did not probably, of course, you did notice that lately I'm making two videos, one in the first half of the day and second in the second half, and I want to ask which format do you prefer? One bigger update a day, or two relatively short updates in the morning time, in the morning by Moscow time, and in the evening. For me personally, of course, it's much easier, significantly easier to do just one update, because two updates does takes more time. But well, I will listen to your opinion, and I will make a decision after that. So please, if you can, write in the comment section which format do you prefer. Well, that's been said. Let's talk about news now, and I will start with Ukraine and special military operation. And first of all, of course, a short summary of the situation on the front line. We did not have reports this morning or nighttime about any large-scale drone or missile strikes from Russian side towards logistical and military infrastructure of Zelensky's regime, although there is some reports that certain areas, specific areas, were hit by missiles, but nothing in the scale that we see in previous days. So let's go now sector by sector when it comes to frontline. So first, Kherson sector, Kherson region. It's artillery duels still, and recon operations, constant fight for these small islands in the Dnieper River and delta of the river. Seems like Russian forces were quite successful to neutralize this small breachhead in the settlement of Казачий Лагерь. As you know, about a week ago, Ukrainian forces did manage to conduct a successful landing operation on the left bank, and Ukrainian forces at some point even enter Казачий Лагерь, but then Russian forces bring in artillery. They did take out or neutralize Ukrainian artillery that was supporting this bridgehead of Ukrainian forces. Small bridgehead, but still. And after that, Russian special forces went in and conducted clearing operation in areas where Ukrainian units were located. And at this point, probably we wouldn't be mistaken if we will say that that bridgehead was fully neutralized. Ukrainian soldiers that survived Russian offensive were dispersed on the left bank of the river, and I guess many of them did try to go back to right bank of the Dnieper. Some may succeed, some may not, but main point is that Russian forces neutralized that bridgehead. But yet again, when it comes to Ukrainian activity on the banks of the river, Ukrainian forces still remain on the little salient here. They still control the little salient right next to Antonovsky Bridge. We can call it bridgehead or whatever, but Russian forces are constantly shelling that area, and at least for this moment we can definitely say that despite attempts from Zelensky and his associates to increase activity in Kherson region and prepare ground for mass crossing of Dnieper River, at least for this moment, Ukrainian forces were quite unsuccessful. So overall situation is operational pause. Nothing is happening in the scale that will influence situation on the entire sector. Next is Zaporozhye and South Donetsk sectors, main axis of Ukrainian counteroffensive. And when it comes to Zaporozhye region, of course, main hotspot is Rabotina area. And latest reports that we are receiving from Rabotina is that this settlement is disputed between the sides. Central part is gray zone, kind of. Northern part of the settlement is controlled at least partially by Ukrainian forces, and southern parts are controlled by Russian forces. Some local scale skirmishes are taking place, but what is most important when it comes to Rabotina area is that Ukrainian side, according to Reber, one of the biggest Russian channels, military channels on Telegram, with over 1 million subscribers. So according to Reber, Ukrainian side did deployed in Rabotina area in Orekhov direction. Basically, it's last reserves, basically, and several brigades that was intended initially to conduct storming operations once Ukrainian side will achieve breakthroughs on during the counteroffensive. Those very brigades have been deployed in Rabotina direction, because as we all know, despite fact that it's the third month of Ukrainian counteroffensive, they didn't manage to achieve any breakthroughs. So I guess because of heavy losses and some other reasons, these main brigades of Ukrainian strategic reserves have been deployed, and they have in their and these brigades are armed with Striker armored personnel carriers. They are armed with Marder armored personnel carriers, and they are armed with the Challenger 2 armored main battle tanks, British main battle tanks. And well, I guess those tanks also are deployed in Zaporozhye region. I did share yesterday video footage of one of the Challenger 2s were deployed in Zaporozhye region, and well, it's only a matter of time now, I guess, when we will see these British main battle tanks have been destroyed by Russian forces and captured also. So that's the main news when it comes to Zaporozhye sector, that Ukrainian side, Zelensky and his associates, threw into battle their most capable brigades. that are armed with almost exclusively with weapons that are produced in the NATO member states. Let's continue now. And when it comes to South Donetsk sector of the front line, as I said, after Russian forces did withdraw from Urozhaina, situation in this area become a little bit calm. It's artillery duels now mainly, and Russian frontal aviation is hunting down Ukrainian armed vehicles. I did share video on my Telegram about destruction of Ukrainian armored personal carriers and tanks and the military equipment, basically in Urozhaina and Rabotina areas. So you can clearly see how costly these local scale offensives really have been for Ukrainian forces. But as I understand now, for at least few days there will be some pause in South Donetsk sector, including this hotspot under the name of Removsky Ledge or salient. And after Ukrainian forces will receive some additional reinforcements, then they will probably continue their push towards south. I don't think they will be able to achieve any significant success, but they will definitely try, because as I said many times before, in my understanding, Washington and London would not stop pushing Zelensky towards escalation until nothing is left from Ukrainian army. And this is done in purpose, as I understand, because at this point, I think main topic when it comes to Ukraine is that which side will control which areas of Ukraine, and behind the closed doors, I guess between Moscow, Warsaw, Washington, London, maybe Brussels, talks probably are taking place how Ukraine will be divided. And at this point, I guess nobody has any doubts no more that in fairly short time, Poland and some other NATO members will send their forces in the western regions of Ukraine, and I guess to make sure that they will receive as minimal resistance as possible, Washington, London, even Warsaw, just everybody in the West will push Zelensky and his associates to conduct second wave of offensive to make sure that Russian side will take care of most of Ukrainian army. Only in that scenario, Polish invasion or NATO member states invasion in the western Ukraine will go more or less smoothly without some extreme resistance from Ukrainian side. So that's why I'm saying that we will probably see in coming weeks activization of Ukrainian forces and maybe even second wave. But well, Russian militaries will take care of those last more or less battle-ready brigades that Zelensky's regime has in its dispensary, and throwing in now into the battle. Now let's go to Donetsk direction. This area usually very active, even though we are talking about some local scale skirmishes, and there are few hotspots, traditional hotspots. On the southern flank, it's of course Marinka, Krasnogorovka and Avdeevka. In the northern flank, it's of course Bakhmut or Artyomovsk, and its surrounding areas. So, well, it's operational pause in Donetsk direction, but initiative is in Russian hands totally. And once situation will be finally resolved with Ukrainian so-called counteroffensive, I believe Russian forces will become significantly active in Donetsk direction, and we may even see large-scale Russian offensive. And when it comes to northern sectors, well, it's clear for everybody that in Donetsk direction it's Russian, in northern sectors, sorry, in Liman, Kupiansk directions, it's Russian forces that are conducting offensive operations, and it's only a matter of time when Russian forces will receive green light in this area and began to conduct large-scale offensive. I guess many experts and many commentators are now on YouTube or any other platform are now waiting for a significant increase of Russian activity in the northern sectors of the front. And this is it for short update. Overall situation, I will call it operational pause. At this moment, nothing is happening that will influence any one sector on the front. And the main point is that even though it's a third month of Ukrainian so-called counteroffensive, they didn't manage to achieve any breakthroughs, and only they will be able to reach the first line of defense of Russian forces only if Robotyne will become under full control of Ukrainian forces, which is not yet happened. So this is it for quick summary. Now let's go through some other news. And RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian militaries did conduct a missile strike on command and control center in the Kramatorsk, which is Donetsk direction, by the way. Let me show you Kramatorsk. As we all know, Kramatorsk-Slavyansk is the last major defense line of Ukrainian forces that they have in this area. This is Kramatorsk, by the way. And lately, Russian side is very active to take out command and control centers of Ukrainian forces, not just in Kramatorsk-Slavyansk line, but also up north in the Kharkov region, even in Dnieper, Zaporozhye itself, Kryvyi Rog. Many command and control centers of Ukrainian forces were basically destroyed during the previous days and weeks, and yesterday was no exception. One of the command and control centers was targeted in Kramatorsk and destroyed. TASS news agency is reporting that Russian armed forces repel 5 Ukrainian local-scale counteroffensives in Kupiansk direction, and very same time Russian forces did manage to advance and establish control over the 2 additional Ukrainian strongholds. As I just said, the initiative on the northern sectors of the front is totally in Russian hands, and Kupiansk direction is northern sector of the front line here. That's Kupiansk, by the way. And despite all the attempts of general staff of Ukrainian armed forces to somehow regain initiative on any one side, when it comes to northern sectors, on any directions, they are pretty much unsuccessful. And as I just reported, while Ukrainian forces were conducting or trying to conduct counteroffensives, 5 of them, it was Russian side that did manage to move forward and establish control over the additional 2 strongholds. Well, as I said, it's only a matter of time when Russian Defense Ministry will greenlight large-scale Russian offensive, and we will probably see very significant increase in Russian activity in the northern and possibly central sectors of the front line. Let's go through some other news, and RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, this is quite interesting. Several Ukrainian soldiers did swim through the Dnieper River from the right bank to the left bank and surrender. And they did told the Russian side that they were basically left on their position without any support and supply. They were hungry. They did not have food for 3 days, and they felt that they have been they did receive no proper basically these soldiers were neglected by their commands, and well, they did make the right decision. They crossed Dnieper River and surrender and saved their lives, basically. So this decision, this swim, this crossing of Dnieper probably will be best decision they ever made in their lives. So once again, we had yesterday reports that in Zaporozhye direction 500 soldiers refused, 2 battalions, by the way. I know usually 1 battalion is 500 or 600 men, but in terms of Ukraine, when many military units are almost decimated, battalions and brigades have a much less personnel that usually do in peaceful times, let's say. And yesterday we had reports that 500 men or 2 battalions from 3 that was deployed in the direction of Zaporozhye region refused to participate in frontal counteroffensives, local scale counteroffensives. And today we have information that soldiers are forced to cross Dnieper River, swim, by the way, to surrender because they are hungry. I mean, that's why I'm asking question constantly: how long Ukrainian forces gonna withstand this pressure? I mean, I don't know, but we are on daily basis receiving more and more informations when some units are refusing to fight, some units are surrendering and lay down arms. So I guess it will take 1 or 2 decisive Russian victories on the battlefield, and then we will probably see beginning of the end of Ukrainian armed forces as more or less capable entity. And who knows, maybe once will everyone realize that Ukrainian counteroffensive did failed, maybe that will also trigger collapse of Ukrainian forces. Anything is possible, but let's continue. RT is reporting that US is seeking grain deal alternatives to bypass Russia. Well, US may try, but well, I don't think they will be able to export Ukrainian grain through Black Sea. They can use western borders of Ukraine. They can use land crossings from Ukraine to Poland, or from Ukraine to Romania or some other NATO member states, but I don't think Eastern European states gonna be happy about it, because just recently President of Poland said that ban on export of grain from Ukraine will be prolonged, and not just grain, some other agricultural produce, also because they have to protect their own farmers and their own market. And well, it's elections in October, I believe, in Poland, and maybe this statement was made because of upcoming elections, and after elections Warsaw may change its position, but at least for now I don't see how US will be able to export grain from Ukraine or to build alternative routes to bypass Russia on the Black Sea. It's just technically impossible, and I don't think Pentagon officials are so crazy that they will send their naval ships in Black Sea to escort ships with the Ukrainian grain. I don't think so. There was such statements made in Washington that US may send its warships in the Black Sea, but I don't think this is serious statements. But let's wait and see, man. Biden's administration is so inadequate that they may do anything, really. Let me continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that, and by the way, we had also a statement yesterday from a Russian ambassador in Turkey, who said that Russian side is also working on some alternative routes to export its grain. And well, to be honest, Russia does has much more chances to achieve success in this matter than US. And let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that well, aid of head of Ukrainian Air Forces, Yuri Ignat, was basically forced to recognize that Ukraine will not receive F-16 fighter jets before at least before end of this year. Of course, none of us are surprised. I was saying from very beginning, and I will repeat that in my reading of big picture, Zelensky and his associates will never ever have any control over any Western fighter jets, even if those fighter jets will be introduced to battlefield. And well, this individual, Yuri Ignat, who is basically part of Ukraine's Air Force, did admit that at least for this year there will be no F-16s for Zelensky's regime, which is absolutely correct. And by the way, just for a thought experiment, even if we will, even if F-16s were delivered to Zelensky and his associates, or any other Western-made fighter jet, third or fourth generation fighter jet, how long those fighter jets will be able to fly? When we all know that Russia has a quite significant level of air defense systems in this in the front line. How long those Western fighter jets gonna be able to fly? Day, two, and that's it, really, isn't it? But anyway, let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that, and not because F-16 is bad plane, by the way. No, F-16 is a great plane, one of the best fourth generation fighter jets that are capable not just air-to-air, to conduct air-to-air battle, but also to conduct ground attack operations. So F-16 is a great plane, like F-18 is, like French Mirage 2000 was. It's too old now, but still are capable plane. Swedish Gripen, by the way, great plane also. Eurofighter, great plane. They are, I mean, together with Russian Su-27, Su-30, Su-35, MiG-29 or MiG-35, those fourth generation planes, they all are capable and great, with their pluses and minuses, because not all are same. But the main point is that Russia has this integrated air defense system on the front line that will just not allow enemy air force to feel free to operate freely. It's that's the point here. And Russia does has probably best air defense systems in the world. So let me continue. And TASS news agency is reporting that US oh, come on. Oh, that's quite interesting, by the way. So if you remember, just a few days ago, day before yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, some high-ranking not high-ranking, but some representative, let's say, of NATO, Stian Jensen, did said that Ukraine may become part of NATO if it will give up some territories in favor of Russia. And this statement, and this individual is official in NATO, by the way. He's a kind of aide of Jens Stoltenberg or something like that. And And this statement did generate significant attention in political circles, in media, and well, even though I said straight away that I don't think Russia will agree on this, even Ukrainian side come up with statements that it's unacceptable for them, and it did not take long before this very individual Stian Jensen was forced to basically apologize and said that he was mistaken. He was mistakenly understood. And well, even the US officials were forced to comment this statement, and we have TASS News Agency's report here, according to which John Kirby, official representative of White House, did make statement that basically denied any talks that Ukraine may become part of NATO if it will give up some territories. But we all understand that this was just a probe. This statement from NATO official was a probing step. They did probe ground. How will society react? How will some different sides react in such a development? And they can reboot now this statement because they did receive some information that they were seeking to gather. But well, I believe in reality some circles in Western ruling elites probably are discussing possibility that some agreement may be done with Moscow that Russia will take some territories of Ukraine, primarily Russian-speaking regions, and the rest of the Ukraine will become part of NATO. But I don't think this is acceptable for Moscow. Of course, no one cares about position of Kiev regime itself. They don't really matter. But I don't think this will be acceptable for Moscow. And by the way, former president of Russia and current deputy chairman of Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, did comment on this topic, and basically he says exactly that if it comes to territories of Ukraine, modern Ukraine, that are or can be disputed, then even Kiev is in question, because Kiev was the capital of Kievan Rus, isn't it? And it called the mother of all Russian cities for a reason. So, well, when it comes to this topic, my understanding is that the western regions of Ukraine will become a part of NATO, because one way or another, because Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, maybe it's Slovakia and Hungary do have some issues when it comes to southern Ukrainian, western Ukrainian territories that will may become part of Hungary and Slovakia, but they will deal with this issue, I guess, and also Romania, by the way. So when these states will establish control over western regions of Ukraine, of course, those parts, one way or another, will be integrated in NATO. But rest of the Ukraine, including Kiev and surrounding regions, will be controlled by Russia. That's how this conflict gonna end. I'm sure 99%. And I will leave only 1% for a possibility that Kiev and the few surrounding regions will remain as a quasi state under the name of Ukraine. Just a slight chance for 1%, maybe less. Because I don't see why Moscow should agree even on that. Why? Because, of course, Western elites will constantly try to use that quasi-state against Russia. So why Russia needs to leave mine behind? I mean, there's no point in that. But anyway, let's continue now. And how long is this update? 34 minutes. Wow. So I will go through a few headlines here. So TASS News Agency did report that head of India's foreign ministry, this legendary foreign ministry, basically. Subramanyam Jaishankar did make statement about G20 and why Zelensky was not invited, and he said that it's not G20's main priority or main goal to deal with the Ukrainian conflict. UN should be playing that role, and that's why Zelensky was not invited. Really, it's a G20 summit, it's not a UN summit. And well, basically this person truly legendary. I mean, he can shut up just about anyone, just about anyone that are commenting or asking some crazy questions. We did see it quite a few times. And also, by the way, India and China, RT is reporting that India and China agreed to resolve border issues, and they will conduct negotiations about it, which is great news. Great news. Both states are extremely important for this world, extremely important for this world, and it's very unfortunate that they have some border issues and time to time even some border clashes. Totally unacceptable, and let's hope that New Delhi and Beijing will find ways to deal with these issues. And by the way, I believe Beijing have to recognize that India is a major power in this world, superpower, and Beijing have to act exactly this way with extreme respect that India definitely deserves. And then I'm quite sure situation will be resolved between the sides. Yes, China is a giant. We all understand that at this point. Chinese economy is now second in the world after US, but India is also major powerhouse in this world and should be treated as such. And if Beijing understands this, then Beijing will be able to compromise on some issues in favor of friendly and strategic relationships with India, which is best for both sides. And in that case, all the issues will be resolved between the sides, I'm quite sure. And let me continue. RT is reporting that Niger's neighbors activate intervention force. Lately, at some point, there was hope that maybe there will be no escalation in Niger, in that region. But lately we are receiving information that maybe ECOWAS will some members of ECOWAS organization will conduct military intervention in Niger. And by the way, yesterday there was a report that Russian president had talks with the leader of Mali, and among other topics, Niger was also talked about, as I understand, and very possible that to make sure that the current leadership of Niger has good enough chances to defend its country. Maybe Wagner PMC units have been deployed in this state. And by the way, White House, very same John Kirby, did not rule out support for a Niger invasion from ECOWAS countries, with participation maybe of France, who knows. But point is that, well, White House did not refuse to rule out support for such an invasion, which is very bad. So I have to end this video right now. By the way, it's too long. It's too long, so I will share additional news in my second update, and I will be grateful if you will tell me in the comment section what you will prefer: one longer version of update with a significant number of news, or shorter version and two shorter versions, relatively short ones. This one is already 40 minutes. Well, I did not expect this, but it is what it is. So this is it for now. I hope you will find this update interesting, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. And if you think this channel is interesting and deserves to exist, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and see you in the second update.